we'll be able to make sure that this emergency and disaster management are there. Now let's look at what we call emergency management further on. Emergency management comprises of all forms of activities, including structures. When we talk about in structures, if you are sitting in your office, we will deal with emergency management. We start talking about where you are sitting right now. In your structures, we start from the DPC, from the foundation. Your base, you are welcome. We start look from the foundations. We look at the structures, that whether that structure was built by quartz, whether it is you can be able to stand the test of time. We look at the non-structures, look at the measures to prevent, to limit, to mitigate, to prepare, and have a kind of adverse effect. We look at the risks, the hazards that are associated. The management has to do with even decontamination, as well as supporting, rebuilding society. If the people have been displaced, they are in conflict, they are in disagreement, they are in one emergency or the other, how they can be resettled to go back to their ancestral homes, how disasters have occurred. We talk with emergency management becomes to begin a kind of continuous, by which all individuals, groups, community can manage in an effort to avoid or ameliorate the impact of disasters from all of what we have been discussing about here. So emergency management is very, very important and very, very crucial in all of that. It's a kind of what we refer to as multi or multifaceted, comprises of all experts, all hands on deck, making sure that we can be able to also be noted that we can only minimize emergencies. They are inevitable. We cannot be able to stop emergency. No, we cannot be able to, by nature, we can only minimize, we can only prepare, we can look for a way. It is reported in Nigeria here that each year more than 900 major natural catastrophe events shatters lives, assets, disrupt community, geographical regions, and Nigeria. Remember in June this year, in 2025, June particularly in Mokwa flood is in Niger State, where you have a flash flood, about more than 200, close to 150% lost their lives. A lot of total destruction took place. Also remember the recent genocidal death and what we call as a massacre in Yerwata Guma local government we mentioned before, damaging a lot of homes, killing a lot of people, including children, the vulnerables, the elders, which under emergency disasters, we take them very, very important. Now let's look at the nexus. Let's look at the connectivity. And that takes me to what I asked, what then is disasters? What is disaster? And I'll go back to Chaguted. Chaguted, we'll talk about emergency. We are talking about disasters. What is disasters? And at the end of the day, I will also ask you the difference between emergency and the disasters or their connectivity. So, Chaguted, what is a disaster? Let me put it that way to you. Your best name, you also contribute. You tell us what is disasters, your own opinion, or what you talk about, we know about disasters. Is Chagu there? Chagu, are you there? Okay, let's move to Bangwa. Anatessa Bangwa. Hello? Uzoman, are we there?
Yes, I'm there, sir. Disaster has to do with destruction.
Okay, it has to do with destructions.
Destruction. Yeah, anything bad, anything that can cause harm is disaster, sir. Thank you, sir.
Samuel Omuya, what is your opinion about? Yeah.
Okay. This is Mr. Icheme. Can I talk?
Icheme, John Ode, you can go ahead.
Okay, sir. Disaster simply means the bad occurrences or evil that happen that may likely harm the nature or an individual within a particular time or a society.
Okay. It should also be noted that in this class, in emergency and disaster management, we carry out what is known as assessment. So part of our assessment is that we assess students, their contribution, their interactions. In disasters, everybody is a partaker, everybody is a stakeholder, and in disasters, we call people by their name, and we see what they can do, where we can be able to ameliorate. And that takes me to Ijo Viering, what is disasters? When you share your opinion, it will go back to Jennifer Jato. Jennifer Jato will also tell us what is disasters. Over to you, Ijo Viering. What is disaster? Abdul Andakula, you're welcome. Abdul Andakula James, what is disaster? Yeah, we can hear you. This is an interactive class. Chagute, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Okay.
If you cannot, Jennifer Jato, I can see that you're ready.
Okay, sir. Disaster is anything that causes damage to a group of people or an environment. It's something that happens naturally. It's not man-made.
Is it only natural or man-made? Thank you.
Sir?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jennifer Jato.
It can be natural, it can be man-made.
Okay. Now, disasters originated from a French word. It's also originated from Greek. More of them. You talk about disaster. It's a combination of two words. Des, meaning bad, and astas, meaning star. Because the term disasters, they refer to as bad or evil. Any evil that happen or any bad thing that happen. They say tufiakwa. Tufiakwa. Hey, disaster. That is abomination. Disaster is something according to the French word, evil. It's used for personal tragedy. If somebody had a tragedy, you say that is a disaster. As they may cause emotional damages, a kind of emotional trauma, where in most cases, somebody will be affected psychologically. Then at the end of that, disasters could also bring a kind of what we call as financial suffering or financial burden. Disasters from that pictures here, that's Abu Andakula James. What kind of disasters do you see from the slide there? Abu Andakula James, what kind of disasters did you see from the pictures from the slide there?
Flood disaster.
Flood disasters. Thank you very much. You got it right. And let me also put it this way. I'll go back to put it this way. From the pictures there, they say flood disasters. Does he have any kind of what we say personal tragedy, a kind of financial involvement that will merit causing some emotional damage? Does this kind of flood, will it cause emotional damage to the people involved? I asked that question to
Yes.
Mamuan.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Rosemary Edu.
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay, in what form?
Okay, it causes emotional damage because from the picture above, we would see that the people are displaced. So then
the people are displaced. Thank you very much. Their houses is displaced. Their most houses, all of that. Let me give you an instance. There's a lot of properties.
Yes, sir.
There are properties involved.
Yes, sir.
Documents involved. By the time they get back to this, they may need to fumigate. Yeah, they may need to fumigate. They may, at the end of the day, they may need to renovate this place. A lot of other damages may have caused, bringing a kind of untold hardship already in a deteriorated economy, where there's a lot of suffering. And this will make us unable to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDG. You know, about 17 of them, from no poverty. Disasters has rendered a lot of people poor. Ordinary, if not because of disasters, they would be able to take care of themselves, but most of this, in Makurdi metropolis here, in places like Achusa, places like Jadovila, places like Wadata, places like some part of Urukum, you will discover, that is in Benue, in Kogi, we have disaster area around Lokoja, where you have the confluence city and all of that. In Abuja, around Lokogoma, along Jabi, along other areas. When you move down to Jos, disaster has its own fair share in Plateau State, in some other part of state, most of the times, causing a lot of untold hardship. We'll look at all of this. And then let's look at, we're still looking at what is disasters. We are talking of the magnitude. They also a kind of catastrophic events. Look at what has happened in that picture, resulting in heavy, in terms of animals, plant, injury, and other damages to the environment. Look at this environment in the pictures. This was where we have a green environment, where we have a conservation, where everything was going on. Because of the wildfire, everything has been crippled. And then a lot of damages have been happened as a result of this kind of disasters. As can be seen in the picture. We can see that in a contemporary academia, that is where we have both research going place, the consequence of inappropriate managed risks, if you are not able to manage your risks, manage your hazards, manage your disasters, the products of vulnerability, hazard that will strike in that area, low vulnerability, if they are not considered, disaster may cause a kind of a careless, it may cause a kind of bad judgment, and by force, a kind of hurricane or flood. And oftentimes, as we see in the previous pictures, most of the times, this kind of pictures, as we go back to the picture, is caused by the man-made. Because building on the walkway, building on the paths that ordinarily they are supposed to be for drainages, and then sometimes as a result of causing a lot of not adhering to the rules and regulation, burying debris in the drainage spots, it causes a lot of disasters. We will tell you how to manage this kind of disasters, how they can be managed, how we can be able to result in ourselves, even in our home. We will also have what is called as disaster report and it's every day. Just on Friday, last week, a lady was frying akara at high level, metropolis in Hinter of town, with a baby of just about 2 years. And in the process of frying, because the baby was hungry, he just stepped aside to pick something. And because he wanted to pick what we have as a akara ball or the mai from there was a kind of an emergency, and he fed in the oil. And the next thing is that a whole of damages and a lot of that. As we're talking, if you move to the Benue State University Hospital, you move to the ICT or the ICU, the intensive care unit, ICU, of the National Hospital Abuja, there are a lot of casualties. There are a lot of people that are there as a result of one disasters of the other. We'll be able to look at all of this. Now let's look at the World Health definition of disasters. We have asked the World Health definition of disasters. It's defined as a kind of a sudden ecological phenomenon, sufficient magnitude that's required to assist. It's also defined as an event typically occurring suddenly, not just occurring suddenly. It says that it must cause damages. That's not just damages, causing a kind of ecological disruption, loss of human life, not just loss of human life, deterioration of health, causing a kind of a hygienic situation, and causing a lot of sometimes a pandemic, and which exceed the capacity of the affected communities on a scale that is sufficient that need assistance. Now, before we go on, we will be discussing how the kind of disasters that can be handled in your home, the one that can be handled by your community, the one that can be handled by local government, the one that can be handled by the state, but the one that can be handled by the country, the one that will require international organization, the one that will require collaboration between the international organizations, the NGOs, the civil society organizations, all of this, but we should be able to know. I may decide to ask you the definition of disasters, and you may be exams according to World Bank. And you should be able to give me this definition that I'll give you here, dissecting, explaining, and going further to make sure that has been done very well when you look at it. Now let's look at disasters, commonly leading to situations that occur in a very diverse situation in the world, in both sparsely populated or lower density populated disasters. You can have disasters everywhere. You can have it in Wadata, you can have it in Urukum, you can have it in Nyanya. When you go to Agege in Lagos, you can also be able to have, if you move to some other parts where the whole of that, even where we have a lot of population, even where densely, there are some factors or predisposing factors that can lead to disasters and emergency situation. Disaster can be caused by natural. We mentioned it before. We were able to mention, most of you were aware, and you gave us. Then it could also be man-made. It can also be man-made. It could be technological hazard. A hazard, as well as a kind of various factors influenced by exposures of the vulnerability. Community disasters is also a serious problem that occur over a short or long period of time. Some disasters will take a long period of time, while others will take just a short period of time. Widespread involving human, materials, economic, political, social, and environmental losses. All of that will happen when we have disasters issue. We'll be discussing further how we need to do, what we need to plan, and that takes me to move to what we have next as emergency versus disaster. Emergency versus disasters. What is emergency versus disasters? And the next thing.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Manasseh,
Can I ask a quick? Hello, sir.
Manasseh,
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, you can ask your
Hello,
question.
sir.
Manasseh,
no,
I
this is Mr. Icheme, sir.
Yeah.
It's Mr. Icheme that is asking questions, sir.
Mr. Who?
Hello, sir. Icheme, John Ode.
John Icheme Ode. Yeah, I can see your hand up. If you want to talk to your rest of your hand.
Sir, yes, my hand is up, sir.
Go ahead.
Okay, sir. If I listen to you carefully and when you are making an example of disasters and emergency, you cite an example of yellow genocide that lead from escalated from emergency to an disaster.
Yes.
And then that state after year. We've been planning for the unexpected to happen year after year. There is a budget in a Nigerian budget year after year, and we see those things continue to reoccurring, even in a larger scale than what it used.
Icheme, go ahead. Let me hear you properly. We are talking about planning year utter, where we budget, referring to the issue of year water. Chairman, complete your question so that I can be able to attend to you effectively. I'm happy and glad when questions are asked like this.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. I say we have budgets. If you go, for example, we have budget for defense, and those who are supposed to defend us, is it that the institutions are not working, or we are not budgeting enough, or alleviate that, or stop this from happening completely, or reduce it to a minimal level? That is my question, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. I got your question. Now I refer to you what is known as, according to Professor Suleimani Dachaba. Professor Suleimani Dachaba said, good intentions are not enough. He went further to say that Policy formulation is different from policy implementation. For you to formulate good policy, have legal framework, have legal backing, budgets, do everything above law. But when it comes to implementation, if there are factors that are hindering you to implement the policy, where you can have effective defense, where you can have that the territorial integrity of the people that can be protected to avoid emergency, to avoid disasters, those issues are bound to happen. And remember, I told you that emergency and disasters are under the first line of charge. They are under grade A. Even the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, as we have at the federal level, led by Professor Nentawe Yedawa, former from Plateau State, and even at the state here, where you have the Commissioner for Humanitarian Affairs and Disaster Management, and then you have the State Emergency Management Agency, the Executive Secretary. Those issues are bound because there is a lack of implementation. There's lack of goodwill. There's also lack of, a lot of people are using emergency and disasters to cash in. Disaster and management and emergency issues is one of the areas that everybody is dropping in, even the government, even the various stakeholders. And one of the reasons why the National University Commission, why the NUC, why the Institute of Procurement, Environmental and Social Standard of the Joseph Sawan Taka University come out with this very course to is that. And why the global intention is that there is this kind of lack of awareness, lack of education about emergency and disaster management. John Ocheme Ode, let me remind you that among all the ministries that you have in this country in the 2024 budget, I'm talking from the perspective of a production economist. I'm talking from the perspective of somebody who is privy to be able to oversee and analyze Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Defense, and not just that, SEMA, disaster management, just like you rightly capture, has one of the highest budget. And I'll give you an assignment to that. Go and look at the budget, 2025 budget of emergency and disaster management from NEMA as a MDA, Ministry Department, and the Parasata, and that of the Humanitarian Affairs. This is where a chunk of money is there. But just like I say, a lot of people are using this to cash in. There's a lot of corruption embedded. There are also what we call as external factors, not just external factors coming in. The issue, we have a lot of particular issues happen, and this is giving rise to what will happen. I believe that at the end of this course, at the end you move to it, it's one of the reasons why we're here. You will be top up, you'll be able to understand and all of that. Back to Gwakia. Gwakia, the man, let's ask you a question.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Doc. So
good morning, Genga.
Yes, sir. In the course of your explanation and the definition of disaster, yes. I discovered you rightly said that disaster is an evil or bad occurrence. Then my question goes like this: the insecurity, is it disaster or what?
Okay, thank you very much. And that takes me to where we have emergency and disasters. Okay, by the time we'll be able to do, we will give you, there's a thin line between emergency and disasters. Emergency and disasters, they are what we call CMS twins, conjoined twins. Have you heard of conjoined twins or CMS twins?
Yes, sir, we have heard. Yes, sir.
Yes.
We are twins that join their head together. They share part of their body together. Those kind of twins that were separated by the uncle psychologist, what we call or known as what basically Ben Carson that bring about it. That is where we are going now. This is conflicting definitions. A lot of people use interchangeably emergency and disasters. The only difference, let me give you the difference before I now answer your question very well, between emergency and disaster is this depending on the magnitude. The magnitude, that both are used interchangeably, but if the magnitude of is higher or the higher intensity of all of this, we now say it is disaster. So an emergency situation could turn to a disaster, and then we are with the magnitude involved, sudden occurrence of that happening, there is that kind of a thin line between emergency. What took place in in the water, for example, that you're talking about, it's also both emergency and disaster. Why? The reason is that if there's any event that occur that we have recorded where you have more than 10 persons, if they have more than 4, if the involving individuals have died, it has become what we call high profile emergency or disaster. But if there is fire inferno, there is a kind of car clash, nobody has died, nobody is involved, it only got burned, we say that is an emergency. It's a kind of collision and all of that. If you are coming on a Okada had a class, you say that kind of emergency. But if it involves casualties, the number of people, you have where people are dying, then the level of destruction, involving the financial involvement that can be quantified in a high magnitude level, we say that is a kind of a disaster. And that takes me to look at that very slide. We say emergency versus disaster. Emergencies is a serious, unexpected, dangerous situation requiring immediate action. Say the example is car crash. If there's a car crash, there's a fire, house fire, then disaster is a calamity. We say that's a calamity. Look at it, we say it's a natural catastrophe. It could be all of that, or it could be damage or loss of requiring safety, such as earthquakes, plant flood, volcano, cyclone. We refer to some others like even typhoon. We refer to issues like hurricane. All of that, we refer to them as disasters. And most of what you see, your definition can be from here. There are type of disasters. From here, you have 2 types of disasters. You have the natural disasters and the man-made disasters. And under the natural disasters, number 1, we have meteorological disasters. When we talk about meteorological disasters, the natural disaster, we are talking like flood. We are talking like cyclone. We're talking like hurricane. We are talking about typhoon. We are talking about snow. We are talking about issues like thunderstorm. We are talking about drought. We are talking about hot and cold waves, as we have in most parts of the world. Then another part of natural is geologically. There's a geological in terms of earthquake, in terms of volcanic eruption, in terms of landslide, in terms of tsunami, in terms of debris, in terms of flood. Unfortunately, Wakia Gemgan, Samuel Moniyan, Ebi, and Chagu, we don't have this kind of natural disasters in Nigeria. In Nigeria, what we have similar to earthquake is what we call earth tremor. In the study of this class, even I would define to you how you can be able to classify earthquake. We have low earthquake, we have medium earthquake, we have high earthquake, we have which one belong to this, which one belong to this category, and all of that. What we have in Nigeria, and we remember in 2021, 2022, please mute your speakers. Ebi and Chab, mute your speakers. Mute your and Chabu, mute your speakers, please. Mute your speakers, Ebi and Chabu. Your background is background from your noise that is stopping our class. What we have in Nigeria is what we refer to as earth tremor. Because what we have around Zuba around FCT Niger to Kaduna that occur at the very time is that we've been so very lucky and all of that. Then we have this kind of also environmental disaster under natural disasters. We have global warming, we have climate change, we have others like the depletion of ozone layer, where you see that, oh, become very high, the sun is very high, very soft, and most of people beaming down. We have epidemics. We are going to look at all of that. We will look at the definition of epidemics and pandemics. We have other words we call as plague. And then under man-made disasters, we have technological causes of man-made, such as transport accident. When we talk of transport accident, we refer to the road transport. We have to land transport. We talk about water transport of system. We talk about rail system, and talk about the air transport. Remember, in the past, in 2000, we have what we know as the Sosoliso air crash, where about 167% died. and there was kind of crash in Nigeria. We have the Dana air crash. Remember the Dana air crash that took place in Lagos, where it was able to do, a lot of people were gone. Apart from the Sosoliso, the Dana air crash, we have the whole fair share of it. We also have a fair share of water or land capsizing, where a lot of in Bonny area in the south region of the country. You have kind of explosion, fire explosion, where you discuss about. We've discussed all of this. That falls under man-made disasters. And then we also have industrial disasters. This involves chemical spills, remote radiations, involve poisoning of gas or leak, where a gas will be leaked. Just about last year, in Lafia and Nasarawa State here, if you are going towards Lafia, Akwanga Road, just by the roadside, there was a gas explosion involving a filling station, burning the surrounding, burning the neighbors, the communities, a lot of casualty involved. We also look at issues like the warfare where we have war, where there's terrorism, there is internal conflict, there's banditry, and there's civil unrest. All of these are described, and that is where you discover that most of this has happened, we mentioned, it's a kind of a man-made disasters because of the magnitude involved, where Gemga was asking me. That falls under war, terrorism, internal conflict. What happens in Yeruwaka was a result of internal conflict, a result of civil unrest. It was a result of a calculated attempt to exterminate and eliminate a certain community or group where you will refer to what that refers to as land grabbing and all of that. That comes under man-made disasters. We will be splitting them, we will be breaking them into pieces. We look at each of them, we look at the effect, we look at the positive effect. They also have 1 or 2 positive effects, but more of negative effects. And we discuss, and then we open everything. Let's look at the natural hazard. When you look at the natural hazard resulting from disasters, naturally occurring hazard, processes that operated throughout history. Most natural hazards are beyond the control of man. We've been to other countries. In 2023, when I was on the study tour of countries on issues in Japan, from Japan to China, Hong Kong, some other parts of Europe, where we were able to look at that. That program came under the study of management of emergency and disaster. And we can show you how you can be able to see how the difference between management, their preparation in such places, and possible evils that we have. We also look at the geophysical from the phenomenon where we have the earth surface, we have the earthquake, landslide that we mentioned, the tsunami, volcanic eruption. We look at the hydrological involvement of disasters. We have oftentimes we hear the Nigerian Meteorological Agency and the Nigerian Hydrological Agency giving out a kind of warning, and they'll be able to preparing the people ahead, forecasting that this is going to happen, and people with lackadaisical attitude or government negligence will live until when it happens. We will also look at the other aspect where disasters, biologically, like diseases, issues like COVID-19, where they are referred as disasters, issues like what we have as Lassa fever spreading, how we can be able to curtail, even the issue of insects and animals. We'll look at the climatology aspect of it, extreme temperature. We'll look at where in even some part of Southeast, where there could be drought, there will be no rain, where crops will die, causing a kind of emergency, causing disasters involving wildlife and all of that. Then let's look at this diagram. Look at the table. You have the disaster subgroup, you have the definitions, we have the main type of disasters. Look at the geophysical. We say it's the kind of event originating from the solid earth, from the geographical aspect. Look at it very well. And the main type of disasters that are involved with geophysical, they say it's earthquake, volcanic, tsunami, landslide, movement, and all of that. And I go back to Samuel Omonia. Samuel, what is the difference between tsunami and hurricane or cyclone? Samuel Omonia, what is the difference between tsunami and then a landslide or even hurricane as a kind of geophysical disaster? Who can answer that? Rosemary Eju, can you attempt that? Icheme John Ode. Can you tell us the difference between tsunami? Ijo Veronica, are you there? This is a participatory class. Olima.
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
Hello, sir.
what is the difference between a tsunami and a hurricane? That's a small thing that matters in disaster.
I think tsunami has to do with the movement of the ground underneath the waters, body of water.
Okay.
Where a large volume of water is moved to cause destructions.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Then hurricane.
Between tsunami and cyclone, which one has more devastating effects?
Tsunami, sir. Tsunami.
Okay.
Tsunami has more devastating effects.
You need to know when you study emergency and disasters, even though we don't have that kind of situation in the country, because that's what we are going next. Then we talk about the meteorological causes by short lives, the causes by where we talk about basically issues like cycles and overflow of bodies and water causing by wind, and then the kind of a mass movement of world. Then we talk about the climatological kind of disaster subgroup, event that causes long lives, this kind of meso leading to the process of spectrum, and then we have extreme temperature. You can discover that there's a lot of changes now, even in Nigeria, even in the central part of the country now. You discover that you have a high sun, you have a, okay, your best name, please.
Okay,
sir.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, your best.
All right. So, sorry to take you back a little bit. I've been attentive to see if I can get clarification on this. I just want to ask, according to the American Red Cross organization, they said that disaster is any occurrence, either natural or man-made, which you have actually said here in the class, that causes suffering to a human being and makes the victim that cannot survive without external assistance. Now, my question is there any difference between a disaster and hazard? And if there is, what is actually the difference, please?
Okay. That's a very good question from a Sunan. Your best Sunan is asking that, is there a difference between hazard and disasters? American definition. Now, let's put it this way to you. Yobe, is that different between Nigeria and Benue?
Benue is a subset of Nigeria.
Okay, very good. Now, you almost got the question. We'll talk about the objective. Sometimes we talk about the main component, and then we'll talk about also specific objective. Hazard, most of the hazard we talk about, be it health hazard, be it physical hazard, be it all of that, are the component of disasters. When we talk about disaster is on the higher side. It's the larger aspect that composes of blood. Most of the hazards are component of disasters. If there is an injury, it's a hazard. If there is that's of any chemicals on the industrial hazard, it's part of all of that. But when we talk about disasters, we're talking about the hazard that you emergency issues. And that's when we talk about basically disaster. We're talking about catastrophe. We are talking about calamities that is sudden into a certain and then have a kind of widespread. So that is the difference we have between hazard and then disasters. Most of the hazards are part of the disasters, just like we gave you an example of Benue and Nigeria. It's a component. But when we talk about a disaster, it covers all the aspects of the hazard, be it a natural hazard, be it man-made hazard, and just like we're doing. Both of them, to some extent, are used synonyms. But in a way, we are, in terms of management, we prefer to use what we call disaster management. Remember also that, Sunan, we have both natural hazard and man-made hazard. So they can be used, but disasters is on more of the larger side and composes more issue, going deeper in terms of management in terms of principles, in terms of application, we look at in terms of principles, in terms of applications, in terms of management. That is where you don't get the differences involved. Like we talk about Nigeria, when you talk about, Benue is part of Nigeria, but when we begin to talk about other Nigeria, that's Nigeria is more of the larger component, involving some other states as well, involving some other issues, including FCT. So that is why we have between, you want to go deeper academically, is in the use as using this very context. We were talking further on. I hope you were able to understand your question, your best name.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then we move further on. We talk about the disaster causes by exposure of living organisms, including germs, how we can be able to manage issues like, oh, how do we do epidemic? It goes back to what Yobe asked me. Yobe is like, I'll still ask you. Let me ask Yobe. Yobe, what is the difference between epidemics and pandemic? In disaster management, we have epidemics and we also have pandemic. What is the difference? Jiba Agustin, can you tell us the difference between epidemics and pandemic?
Sir, in fact, network logged me out. I'm just returning, so I'm just adamant of what you two are discussing. I'm enjoying you fully as the class progresses.
We are discussing disaster subgroup, type of disasters, and then we are discussing biological disaster now. And the biological disaster we are discussing, we say is made up of epidemics, is made up of pandemic. So we are asking, there are little things that matter. In biological disasters, what is the difference between epidemic and what's the difference between pandemic?
Okay, I think pandemic has to do with what has a global impact has a global impact, while epidemic has to do with a lesser impact on the society.
Okay, you're right, Sunil. Epidemics has to do within the locality. The difference is the widespread. While pandemic has to do with the widespread nature. If there's a side note such as COVID-19, we say COVID-19 is a pandemic because of the widespread nature from Wuhan, from China, across Africa. But if there's a most magnitude of what has happened, we can just say there's a kind of this cholera epidemics. It's just within Benue, within the social community, within the locality pictures. And I will be asking the type of disasters in this picture, the kind we have. And let me ask Manasseh Ananguchia. Manasseh Ananguchia, name one kind of disaster we have here. And then I'll come back to Her Excellency. Nafisat Mohammed, you also identify one type of disaster you saw in that picture. I'll go to Woman Blessing Iberin, and then Tere Rab Chawakura will also tell us. Back to you now. Tere, you can go ahead. Where we'll be waiting for work. Can you identify one type of disasters? There are many of them. We want us to identify.
Okay. We have cases of Lassa fever.
The one in picture,
Hello,
the one, this picture here. David, we're talking about this picture, the slide that's present on the screen.
Okay.
Identify one type of disasters on the screen. The one you saw.
It's a flood disaster.
Yeah, what?
Flood disasters.
Flood disaster, thank you. We are okay, one. Let's go to Jato. Jato, identify another one from there.
We have road accident, transport accident.
Road accident.
Hello?
Road accident, thank you very much. Game Gagwa can identify one kind of disaster there.
So we have the Fulani terrorists as a disaster.
In the pictures here.
Yes,
the ones in the pictures here.
Okay.
Did you see them there?
Yes, sir. I'm seeing
this very slide. Okay, thank you very much, Gemga, for that. Rosemary Edu identified
drought, sir. Drought.
Ready?
Sir?
Wow! Ooh, please, you people should give Rosemary Edu one bossa. Bossa. Okay. Hey, Chairman, Ode, can you identify from the pictorial? Hey, Chairman John Ode, are you there? Okay. Now we take attendance here. We look at what's up on Nungu Philip. Ivahan on Nungu Philip. Ivahan on Nungu Philip. Can you identify one kind of disasters here? Please don't forget, let's us note in a very clear and a very crystal terms that as part of this lecture and part of participation is also part of your assessment. So if we are engaging you, we are also marking you, and we are also in part of participatory class. Marks are allocated for when we come under emergency and disaster management. Because under emergency and disaster management is the people that participate. Otherwise, if you don't want any emergency to happen to you, if you don't want any disasters to happen to you, it's a course that is very simple to pass, very easy going, but very easy also to fail. G. Bagosim, your hands is up.
Okay, from the pictures there, I can see drops there.
Thank you very much. That was identified by Rosemary. Okay. Edu before she does that. Rosemary Edu do that.
From the water, chemicals released from the water.
Okay. Okay. Ageda Sylvia, and after you,
I can see.
Ageda Sylvia. Sylvia. Okay.
I can see water pollution.
I can see
water pollution.
I can also see fire. I can also see fire outbreak.
Okay. Topa Teso.
What?
Topa Teso.
No.
Go ahead.
I can see water pollution.
Okay. Thank you for that, Topa. And this is an example of man-made. Okay. Ageda Sylvia, I'm go home.
Yes, I was struggling with my microphone. I wanted to talk about erosion. Erosion.
Okay. Okay. From the picture we saw here, Mungoho, Sylvia, Ageda, what kind of disasters can you identify here? Look at that picture.
I saw erosion. Well.
Okay. Thank you. We move to Abu under Cooler James. Abu under Cooler James.
Sir, I saw erosion.
Thank you.
Erosion. Erosion.
Thank you. Ijo Veronica, identify kind of disasters we saw from this picture.
Inferno disaster.
Inferno disaster. Thank you very much. Fire disaster. That is it. Felix, Ivo.
Can I send some
Felix? Yeah, Felix. Let's hear from Felix. Then we'll go back to you. Felix, Ivo.
Yes,
go ahead.
I see terrorism here.
Terrorism. Look at somebody holding his own gun there. Look at banditry. Yeah, Felix, Ivo, you got your maps already. We are taking and we are recording already for people participating in emergency and disasters. Is all. I'll tell you the reason why we do that. I'll also tell you the reason why we call people by their name. We don't take it lightly, and we take into cognizance, and very importantly, there's technological failure or breakdown. You also be informed for others. I don't know lectures, but inform others for others who are not also here that for emergency and disaster class, you must be there. The reason is that we can't share a man head in his own absence. We will not be able to manage emergency and disasters when you are not there. Can we be able to do that? Topa Teso. Can we be handling? We cannot use robust. So it's a practical course, and people must be involved. We talk about the breakdown of equipment, look at bandits, look at terrorism, look at the phenom. We talk about engineering standards, where we have a lot of quads using them, causing a lot of untold hardship. We talk about people and environment. We talk about structural collapse. Most of the time, we are talking about structural collapse or building collapse. It happened in Jos. We have about 2 promising students, 4 promising students. Do you remember that, oh, these students were all of that, and because of the structural clause, they were from a mother and they died. Imagine that kind of thing. We have a building in Numa, Adamawa State. If you are crossing, going to Numa, most of you, following that road to Biliri in Gombe. When you do disasters, you have to move everywhere. We're there, and that building, that very bridge collapsed and became a very serious issue. Just before then, in part of Benue, now south, we are before the construction of Oweto Bridge. We discovered that before that bridge was put in place, there was a lot of damages, causing a lot of emergency and havoc. And recently, we'll be looking at all of this, and we'll be able to look at. Industrial disasters are caused by companies, is either by accident, by the use of machines, the use of incompetence, the use of chemical, the use of explosion, and all of that. Tehide Jimen, can you expatiate on industrial disasters? What you understand by industrial disaster? Tehide Jimen. What do you understand by industrial disasters? Yeah, over to you, Tehide Jimen. What are the causes of industrial disasters? Okay, Chagu, can you answer that? Ted Chagu.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, we can hear you, Jimen. Tehide.
Industrial disasters. We have chemical spills. We also have fires and explosions, and then failure of equipment.
Okay. Uzoma, can you throw more light on that? Keman, Kolan?
Yes, sir. Industrial disaster has to do with any disaster that is occasioned by industrial mishap. Can be chemical spillage, can also be fire outbreak. Hello?
Okay. Abu Andakula. Abu Andakula.
Hello, sir.
Yes, Abu Andakula, go ahead.
Industrial disaster has to do with chemicals, plant exploration, and oil spillage, and factory fire.
Thank you very much. That's very true. What care game there?
Sir, industrial disasters simply means those items or chemicals, the waste products released from the industries that cause harms to ecosystem. For example, the plastic rubbers that do block gutters or drainage that cause flooding, sir.
I'll give it to you. Very correct. Very correct game. Now that's the, so we talk about all of this, the phenomenon increase in occurrence of certain natural events like landslide, like flooding, like subsidence. We talk about drought, we saw in the pictures. We talk about the interactions. We talk about hazard. We talk about overexploited, the kind of degraded and environmental resources. We look at the common type of disasters in Nigeria. And the common type of disasters in Nigeria, human blessing, reach from number 1 to 5. In Nigeria, mention the first five common type of disasters in Nigeria, the one we have on the slide there. Number 1 is what? Read from 1 to 5. Common type of disasters we have in Nigeria. Human blessing. We're coming back to you, Miriam Adamu.
Hello, sir. Excuse me. Make it.
So we have flood disaster.
Flood disasters.
I can't see the slide because of my network.
Sir, make it bold for us.
Sir, you can see the font on your slide. It's a bit small.
So we have
I can't see the slide too.
You can increase it, zoom it by yourself. we have flood, we have fire outbreak and road accident.
You can
we have building collapse,
we
have drought example.
Drought,
Zoom it, we have drought.
Landslides, heavy rain,
clashes,
medical epidemics, and pandemics.
Okay.
We have banditry, kidnapping, and terrorism.
Can you mention 2 there?
Okay, so I can see flood, I can see fire outbreak and road accident, which include private.
Okay. So we have flood, we high fire outbreaks and road accident. Road accident can happen in the public or the private sector, residential areas. You can be in the houses. We have building collapse. Mention them in Lagos, in Abuja, in where you have most of the burden, even the burden number. We're talking about drought example in the northern part of Nigeria region. We have oil spillage.
Oil spillage in the Niger Delta.
Land spillage in the Niger Delta. We have heavy winds and thunderstorm. We have farmers' headers clashes. We have communal clashes. And we have ethnic and religious conflicts. We have banditry. We even have kidnapping and terrorism.
Yes.
Now, disaster mitigation measures. How can we I remember I told you that disasters is inevitable. So how can we use planning and preparedness and advocacy to mitigate disaster? Ralph, how can we use planning, preparedness, and advocacy to mitigate disaster?
We have to do that by making institutions that are responsible in handling disaster management to be very effective, to be well skilled, and always prepared to tackle emergencies.
I still go back to you, Teve. Is it only the private sector or the public sector? Or is it this planning and preparedness and advocacy? Is it for everybody or for a certain group of people?
It's for everybody.
Both private and public.
It's not for your question. It's for everybody, sir. And however, I want to say something about that too, sir.
The question was directed to me, John. But the question was directed to me.
Chairman,
okay,
I went to
thank you.
I'm coming back to you. Yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir. I was saying it's both for public. Yes, sir. I was saying it's both for public and private sectors, because it cannot be left in the hands of just one sector.
Yes. Okay. So disasters was working according to David, and just like a chairman, you wanted to say something. Go ahead.
Yes, John, sir. Yes, sir. I want to say something. Apart from the private and public sectors, and I think we need to have a political will in managing the disaster. Yesterday on a pages of newspaper, the Enugu state governor was crying when he had an intel of Fulani, suspected Fulani men trying to attack a particular community. And he put a call across to the he said that he put a call across to Mr. President, and his call was put on hold for over 4 hours. For over 4 hours, no response. And after 4 hours,
that was an occurrence by what? Go ahead.
Yes, and then after 4 hours, before they could get back to him, he put a call to GOC in charge of the army close to that place too, and the man said that he has to put a call across to the presidency for him to get the directive from there. That shows that there was no political will to manage the crisis, and after the crisis, they laid their mayhem on the society or the community, killing a lot of people in Enugu. That was day before yesterday, and after the killing, when the community wanted to retaliate, the army showed up and blocked the retaliation. That shows that there is no political will in handling the crisis, even when we get the intel that this crisis is about to happen. So we need to have a political will so that to manage the crisis effectively, sir. That's what I want to add, sir.
The same thing that happened.
Thank you very much, John, the chairman, for that robust contribution. because it is what we discussed with one of disaster platform. We have a disaster TV station. We have a disasters forum. There are also disasters site that reports every day. And I'll go to this. I have Sunain Obey. How can we use education and awareness and then forecasting to mitigate disasters? And which agency are responsible for forecasting about disaster management in Nigeria? Sunain Obey.
Sorry, sir. I didn't get you very well.
So then I say, how can we use education, or how can we create awareness to reduce, to mitigate, to ameliorate disasters? And which, we talk about number 2, and which agency are responsible for forecasting of disasters issues in Nigeria?
Okay. To the best of my knowledge, there are national televisions that we can use them as channels to create awareness to the people that look, especially like, let me use flooding as an instance. There are some moments in some states that we expect that flood will occur given the nature of the environment, the rainfall there. So as long intervals, these people need to be informed that, okay, at this so and so time, you need to evacuate these areas so as to mitigate or to avoid the impending hazard of a disaster that may occur. So I think I am not very sure of the agency that is responsible for that now, but I know that National Emergency Management does a lot of work in the management of disaster occurrences.
Chairman, okay, Choko Sufanya.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
His Excellency, the Governor.
Good morning, sir.
All
right. Okay, so just to build on what Sunain just said, SEMA in the state and NEMA at the federal level are responsible for education awareness. And then I think the Nigerian Meteorological agency is responsible for forecasting. They are responsible for forecasting. So if you are crossing or you are coming from North Bank, for instance, that's for Benue, there is this early warning sign that is placed in River Benue, which has different colors. I think green, yellow, and then red. So there has been some radio awareness on that, and then people are aware that when it reaches yellow, it is a sign that people living along the river banks should leave. By the time it alerts us at red, it means there is flooding already, and then it's going to result into death and destruction of properties.
Thank you very much, Class Governor Choko Sufanya. Chairman John Ode, we hear from you before we go to Ichiba.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity once again. I want to say that yes, National Orientation Agency as an agency in Nigeria, for example, is responsible for enlightening the public about the happening in Nigeria. For example, if Nigeria Meteorological Agency predicts that there's going to be a flood in Benue State, it is expected that the National Orientation Agency should take over the campaign from there. Apart from informing those that predicted, informing people, they should spread the message so that it can go to every nook and cranny of where the disaster is thinking, or where they believe that the disaster is going to take place, to inform them properly and then know what to do and address them from there. If it happens like that and they do their job diligently, we will be able to mitigate or reduce a lot of disaster to a minimal level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ejigba Augustine, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, exactly what I wanted to say that John Ocheme has said. National orientation is starting with the responsibility of not giving orientation to what is supposed to be done in Nigeria. Thank you.
Yeah, we started with disaster planning, preparedness, and advocacy. Disaster planning, preparedness, and advocacy is everyone's business. Right away from your home, in the course of this study, when you plan for disaster, let me put this across to you. As part of the planning of disasters, how many of you have fire, what we call as for fire disasters? How many of you have fire extinguisher at your home? How many of you have fire extinguishers in your car? For those of you that have motorcycle, how many of you have helmet? For those of you that you enter one car or the other yesterday, how many of you were able to use seatbelt? For those of you at home, how many of you have first aid kits? For those of you also in your offices, how many of you were able to have a first aid kit? What are the things inside the first aid kit as part of the preparedness? Where you have glucose, you have Panadol, you have water, you have even biscuits in part of that. Then when we talk about education, creating awareness is a part of what we are doing here is part of the education. Then capacity building, organizing workshops, then embarking on public hearing. Apart from public hearing, we also talk about issues where we can create platform, like WhatsApp platform. It can be on LinkedIn, it can be on Instagram, it can be on Facebook, using the digital social media and bringing it in such a way, we can even turn it into a gig economy, where that can become a source of revenue trying to grow. When we talk about agencies that are saddled with the responsibility of forecasting disasters, we talk about agencies like Nigeria Meteorological Agency, we talk about agencies like Nigeria Hydrological Agency, Nigeria Hydrological Service Agency. Apart from NIMED, we have NHASA. We also have NEMA, just like you mentioned, SEMA, NEMA, and LMEC, the National Orientation Agency, the Ministry of Information and Culture, and others, etc., etc. This starting with the responsibility. Aside from that, from the class, we use the NGOs. The NGOs are also, they carry out the kind of focus, in collaboration with the government. We use the churches, we can use even the mosques. Announcement can be made in creating awareness, in messing out a lot of that, in churches, in mosques, in local community or setting, where you have a community meeting, it could turn out to be, even at Market Square, where we can also use in the local community, where you don't have a local tablet, you don't have electronic media, where you don't have basically like TV, television, you can use tongue criers. Tongue criers will be able to make announcement, moving from one community to another, moving to passing information, making sure that everything is going to be in order. They will also talk about mitigation measures, talking about like dams, the building of dams, where all of that. Could imagine that the kind of flood that we have in Benue, we have what is known as buffer dams. In that kind of situation, you build some dams where the water is channeled. All the water that you have that written about flooding could be harvested. That water is channeled to all those buffer dams, and that could be used as a kind of for agricultural purposes, for irrigation purposes. Relocation of these people, making sure that, you relocate them to several places at the end of the day, and then there's also building what's called building of levels and dike. Those are very strong drainages, built of stones, built of rocks, very gigantic, and then you link that kind of flood, you can be able to control. Another mitigation measure is installation of the use of the fire alarms. All you should know that there are new fire alarms and even detection, just like Tioko Sofamian was telling us the physical feature, plus along the River Benue, along Makurdi in North Bank. There are fire alarms that once there's going to be a fire where you are sitting right now, they will make alarm. You will hear, whee! It's giving you a kind of soning, a kind of warning, just like in cars. In cars now, there's a kind of inbuilt system that some cars, as part of mitigation measure, once you put on the key is on the car, you hear bing, bing. If there is no seat belt and you have not been able to hear seat belt, it's giving you a warning sign. Bing, 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 That is a kind of a mitigation measure in your car, telling you to put up a kind of your seatbelt to avoid emergency or disaster in case of accident. You can talk about issues like the use of extinguishers. And if you have fire extinguisher, do you know how to use it? You can be able to train how to do. At the end of these lectures, at the end of this class, it's expected that we're supposed to have a practical class. We show you how to use fire extinguisher. Most of you have it in your car, you have it in your houses, or most of you see them in your places. You don't know how to use it. We'll show you how to use, yet you can be able to stand in the direction of basically where you are supposed to have that. Then the use of electrical safety measures, where you have sockets, the one that can be fire resistant. Some buildings are also fire resistant. They create barriers, little maintenance culture. When you see that, you discover, check around some of your places, many people are still using all the kind of socket or plugging them natural, where they don't have sockets. You just cut up your wire, and then there are some little sparks. Those sparks can ignite some kind of emergency, causing a lot of damages and all of that. Adhering to building standards. There are some building standards that you have to do. All you need to do is that make building standards, use a very equipment, the foundation should be able to make up of this kind of nation and all of that. If you are adhered using professionals, it could be served as a kind of a mitigation measure. Other mitigation measures that you can be able to be mitigated or mirror is that infrastructural development, like dualization of roads and using a road sign. If you look at between Abuja, Kefi, Akwanga, back to Lafia, to Makurdi in Benue State, down to Otukpo, Eke, Idomuga, to Otukpa, going to Nsuka, Oboru, all of that, you discover that because of the dualization of road by the Chinese construction company, a lot of accidents have reduced. Or you discover that those coming from the other side to pass the other lane, why those going to the other side the youth? We avoid also driving at night. When you do some, you have a kind of speed limit. Fix as part of mitigation measure in your car. You have a kind of speed limit, mostly for all of that between 100 and 120. And then you also talk about most of these others happens as a result of recklessness or an apart in driving, including me cyclists. Driving, you avoid driving at night. It's in the night that most of accidents take place. There's also this kind of vaccination. We carry out vaccine or vaccinated or immunization on issues like COVID, issue like polio. If you move to the northern part of Nigeria, the issue of polio have reduced drastically because of vaccination and immunization for medical emergencies. Even for a lot of that. Nanata texts me, I'll go back to Teso Topa. Teso Topa, during the COVID-19, did you take the COVID-19 jab vaccination? When I also asked Pine said, Pine, you should be able to tell me whether during the COVID-19 epidemics or pandemic, whether you took the COVID-19 jab.
I did not took it, sir. Pine Jemima, I did not took it.
What about you?
I took it and have the card with me.
Okay. It's one of the reasons of vaccination and immunization is that when you have to travel, even outside the country, you have to have what is known as yellow fever vaccination. For most in Benue State, most of you with primary health care, you can move opposite the Benue State University, BBSU, or what is known as basically now the Moses Oshua Adasu University. Opposite the second gate, we have a kind of epidemiological center there.
Epidemiological unit. Yes.
Kind of all of that. There's an epidemiological center or unit. This is all the same thing. It's for various preventing a lot of mitigation for communicable diseases and from other issues like even hepatitis, like that can be taken care of. And if almost is on all of us. Another mitigation measure that you have to do is that it has to do with the irrigation system for the drought. Prone areas, make sure that everything you have to be able to do, where you have disforestation, there should be afforestation. In either where you have oil spirit, response and clams, you will embark on what is known as make sure they improve the oil spirit, and then embark on what is known as remediation. And then in terms of conflict resolution mechanism, you make sure what we use is what we call ADR. And ADR simply means alternative dispute resolution mechanism. Chagute, please can you mute your speaker? Mute your speaker from there. You went back on AGR. You avoid a situation whereby everything, they say go to court. Go to court. We not go agree. We not go agree. We not go agree. No, we are moving as part of mitigation measure is that we back on conflict resolution mechanism through AGR. We can sit together through negotiation, through mediation, through reconciliation, and be able to do that. You can organize novelty match, where you can organize both parties play, and then you embark on the spirit of sportsmanship. By so doing, using some other factors, we can be able to mitigate our disasters. We know if we will not be able to stop, we can be able to reduce it to the barest minimum. And I put it to you so far now. How, if there's any question from what we have done so far, or any contribution, any comment, any addition, any subtraction, or any suggestion, let me have before we continue. Is there any questions? Chagute, if you have any question, Topate so, if you have anyone, Tere Raf Chakula.
Yes, sir.
Chairman, if there's any question, yeah.
Sir, I am so happy that this course is included into our
curriculum. Thank you very much. Thank you. We thank the Institute of Procurement, Environmental and Social Standard.
It's an eye-opener for so many people, so many things in this country. I feel that I don't know that are not done properly. That this the stakeholders who are also supposed to all that delay. I don't know whether maybe they don't love the people or they are not. I don't know. So this course, I think it has opened my eyes concerning what is happening around, concerning other disasters like this flood issue, the COVID-19 that just passed. We are aware of all that. Like I took this what do they call it? This vaccination. I took just only one dose, but there were a lot of threats. People were saying that no, this thing is it's not our disease, it's their disease that is politically inclined and all of that. So at the end, I became afraid too. So that is how I experience part of that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Chago. Gwakia Game Guy, you have your hands is up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you once again for giving me opportunity, sir. So in terms of awareness, the body that is in charge, they have a lot of work to do concerning the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine. There was a lot of misconception there. Some they're telling that if you take it, you're not going to give birth. The birth limit is this, is that. So that is why I said they have a lot of things, a lot of work to do. And again, I'm on opinion that this course is supposed to be a general course because it has to do with human lives. It has to do with ecosystem. The management would have make it compulsory course, sir. That is my take, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Game Gagwaka.
Yes. Good afternoon, sir. So first of all, I want to appreciate you so much for the knowledge you have just imparted in us, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes, and as you earlier said, that many of us, we don't know how to use a fire extinguisher. So I don't know, sir, whether it's possible for you to create a time for a practical class. It will be very helpful to us, sir. It's an appeal, sir. Thank you, sir.
We will discuss with that. One of the requirements of this course is that you are going to do what is known as internship. That internship, as one of the requirements after you complete your classwork, is that most of you will be posted to NEMA. Most of you will be posted to SEMA. Most of you will be posted to LEMA. Most of you will find yourselves with the Ministry of Disaster Management. And also, let me also inform you, just like Wakia was saying, disaster management and emergency, because of the importance of this, the Universal Basic Education Commission, UBEC, the NUC, they have been started inculcating right away from primary school now, from the kindergarten, this into the curriculum now. They just started a year or last year. We have a kind of a stakeholder meetings, and it was discussed. And it was all agreed that, oh, this is a very important course. It should be. So for most of you that your kids are in very standard school, some other one they have started what is known as safety management, hazard and safety. So that is a kind of OHAs. Also, for those for PGD, this course is there. For your master's is still there. Even for undergraduate now, in year one, for most in the areas of that, it has become just like a core course. It's only that in master's here, where you are mastering different areas, we decided that, oh, it could be a kind of elective. But even as that, there is a call for review. A lot of people, not just only you, calling that no, that should be a core course that everybody must be able to, for us to achieve, not just improve ourselves, but to achieve sustainable development goal. Let me remind you, let me inform you, let me tell you in a clear and a very crystal terms that one of the reasons why Nigeria is where we are is that they say we are not prepared for disasters. And so we are not, because we are not prepared for disaster, we don't have apparatus, we don't have preparations, we are not serious-minded people, so we cannot. And if you look at the rating of countries, one of the reasons we are at the bottom of the ladder is that it's our approach to disaster management. So we need to improve our approach to disaster management, and we can be able to do that. But that is why we are embarking on this course. Jennifer Jato, you want to say something before we continue?
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Good.
Sir,
go ahead.
If those of us who are living in towns are finding it difficult to help ourselves out in certain when we find ourselves in certain situations, how do we intend to educate those in the rural areas on how to what to do when they find themselves in certain situations, like for instance, improper disposal of waste, or maybe fire outbreak? Is the government making effort to educate them about what to do and how to go about it when they find themselves in such situations?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jennifer Jatu. Jennifer is asking us that for those in the rural areas, how can we be able to carry them along to manage the issue of waste? How we can be able to impact on them? How can we be able to build capacity and touch them? We have a lot of issues will be solved: issue of flooding, issue of banditry, issue of kidnapping, issue of terrorism, constituting disasters, issue of fire outbreak, and all of that. Jennifer, we have what is known as the National Disaster Management Framework, and that is where I'm about to go now. That will be another day, but let me give you a summary to answer your question. The National Disaster Framework is a policy document that has the nitty-gritties, it has the combination, it has the foundations, it has all the ingredients about the management of disasters, even at every nook and cranny in the local of the remote areas. At the local government level, we have what is known as LEMC, Local Emergency Management Committee. And the Local Emergency Committee at the local government handling of disaster at the local government level is headed by the chairman of the local government, whoever will be the chairman of local government at that point, under the LMSC or Act, the law. And then you have what is known as whoever is the director of personnel, or what we call the Director General Services and Administration, which is a civil servant, and then the department of that constitute membership of that committee, and then if the traditional rulers at the local government are part of that committee created by the law, and then we also have the religious leaders. The religious leaders are part of that committee. We have the women are members of that committee, women leader. We have the youth are part of that committee. We call it the management of disasters, the local emergency and management of disasters. So we have all the stakeholders at the management of disasters at the local level. The issue we have, what I tell you is that it's basically the issue of implementation. The document is very much, and it's a topic of its own that we'll be handling one day. We'll show you who is responsible. We'll show you who will be able to open up why there's also a lot of corruption taking place at that area, where some people are cashing out, making a lot of money, making a lot of on people's misfortune, and all of that. We handle all of that when we move that. But in the interim, there is a committee that is saddled with the right responsibility of taking care of, just like you have at the state, just like you have at the federal level. Thank you very much. Is there any other question before we proceed? What is disaster management? Remember, we spoke about emergency, we spoke about disasters, we talk about emergency versus disaster, we talk about common type of disaster in Nigeria, we'll talk about mitigation measures. Now we are moving to what is disaster management. What is disaster management? Now we have to do with disaster management. Disaster management involves planning. It involves organizing. It involves response of disasters to minimize harm, to protect people and properties, protect the lives and recovery. It includes preparedness, the kind of response, recovery, mitigations to reduce disaster risks. Look at that kind of drama. Look at the cycle there. This is a disaster management cycle. From the picture you see from there, we have from preparedness, we have from response, we have from recovery, we have from mitigation. And look at the kind of issues. We have the difference between us and developed society is that they are prepared. We see them, they are always 100%. If the disasters occur, we'll give you when and when you are supposed to be there. We'll give you how, if they have not responded within 24 hours, like it happens in Nigeria here, for on-spot assessment, we have most of the time, the disasters will occur. It will take years, or how many days? We are looking at all of that. On the normal social standard course, internationally, globally, if a disaster has occurred in the local magnitude, within 24 hours, I emphasize it, there must be response from the government, from the agency responsible to be able to do that. We also look at, we dissect why they have not been doing that. We'll look at in that kind of situation where you can be able to report, where we can be able to look at it, where those kind of things can be done. Now look at this kind of disasters in the pictures here. This is in a developed society, how it was managed effectively. Although many different terminologies exist, the activities of emergency and disaster management, as it can be seen, what can be done is that it can be categorized into preparedness, response, mitigations, recovery, although such terms of disaster reductions and all of that. And I go back to, we spoke about preparation before. We will have organizing to minimize the kind of harm, and in the cycle from there. Let me ask to Felix Ivo. Felix, we have not heard from you. You appear. So how do we respond to disaster? Prepare and respond to disaster. As from the pictures there. Felix Ivo, you can do that. And then Mary Adamu or Miriam Adamu. Over to you, Felix. How do we respond to such kind of disaster in the course of managing disaster? How do we respond? We're going practical as well. Show you what is supposed to be done.
Yeah, like managing disaster in Nigeria, for instance, for cases of disaster emergency, agencies like, okay, for instance, in the state, okay, we have an issue of flooding, for instance. I remember 2 years ago, they released water from Lagos Dam. Hello, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. We are together.
Okay. It was 2012 or so, the year Cameroon released water from Lagos Dam, water that caused a lot of devastation in various states. Now, we have sent a lot of relief materials to that. In fact, prior to the release of the water, a lot of awareness was created. People in rural areas were advised to relocate to safer areas.
We're coming to you. Abu Mimido, we are coming to you very soon.
A temporary accommodation was provided for the victims. People were asked to relocate to a safer place. I think then it was in Market. Now, after the whole period, a lot of relief materials were shared, food stuff, bedding, and other relief materials. The only challenge many times in a society where there is high level of corruption. I remember in my community where that is affected, relief materials were brought by FEMA. This one was from, I think, from Benue State government. Now, they brought the materials in truck. They had cameras, they had newsmen, people carrying this, and everybody. They shared, they give like food to certain people, and interview them, they video cover them, and then they pack the everything and let it see. At the end, it was recorded on news that relief materials were shared to victims of the flooding incident. However, in real life, it was only few, the only video, just the photogenic kind of activity, and the whole of the relief materials were taken away. Sometimes those are some of the challenges we have in a society where there's high level of corruption. However, I think that is part of the response to emergency situation. Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that contribution. Activities of emergency or disasters that can be handled, all of that. The outcomes of involving management, all that we are trying to do, everything that has to do has to be with the aim is to reduce, the aim is to mitigate, the aim is to make sure that everything happens, that disasters to reduce harm, and that has been reduced to the various minimum. Now, we are looking at the 5 steps of emergency and disaster management. 5 steps of emergency and disaster management. We talk about prevention, we talk about mitigation, talk about preparedness, we talk about response, we talk about recovery of emergency and disaster management. And now go back to Mimido Abu. Mimido Abu, how do we prevent disasters? What do we mean by prevention as an emergency step in disaster management? Mimido Abu, we will answer that with the Mimido and Igba will be able to lead. Abu Mimido, what do we mean by prevention of disasters as a step in emergency management?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I would say that prevention, that's to be able to put in place things that will stop disaster from happening.
Very good. Like what?
Like, let's say in the issue of flooding, like we said earlier.
Yes.
If the governments are already told that flooding is going to happen, they should be able to put some things in order so that when the flooding comes, it will not affect us.
Like building of gutters and drainages. Is that what you are saying?
Yes, sir.
Where you have good drainages in place with dike, with what is referred to as river in place. Now, what was to do? And I move to Busu Kumadem. Busu, how do we also, apart from what Mimido Abu has said, how do we prevent disaster? Let's say flood, let's say fire, let us drought, how let's say be able to other man-made forms of disasters. like road accident. How do we prevent that or reduce it?
Okay, sir. Well, like we just said, disaster management is taking actions that will prevent or minimize or mitigate disaster. So in terms of fire, if we have
yes,
extinguishers in our homes, in our cars, or in our offices, and then there's an incident of fire, so we can mitigate it by quenching it at that initial moment without it escalating.
Good. We can hear you very well. You're making very good points. Go ahead.
That's my point, sir.
Okay. What about if in case of road accident? How do we prevent road accident or prevent such occurrence, escalation? Queen, Her Excellency Nafisat Mohammed.
Can I try, sir?
Yes, you can try.
Okay. There are disasters, those that can be prevented and those that cannot be prevented. Like
very good.
Yes, you can make preparatory arrangements to avert flood. You sensitize the people, give them warning signs to leave those areas before the disaster occurs. Like the issue of this Lapo Dam that the Cameroonian people are talking about, releasing a very powerful sensitization to make the people know that this is coming, the disaster, the flood is coming, it will cause harm.
Okay. Thank you
People
very
might
much.
die, may die.
Sir,
Yes,
can I add, please?
Hello, sir.
Can I add?
You can add.
Hello, sir.
Go
Okay,
ahead
sir.
and add. It's an interactive class. All of you to contribute.
Hello, sir. Please go ahead.
Yes,
you,
we can hear
sir.
you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
In addition to
that, I
Can
don't
I continue?
see any of that presently. But in the other way, people, there are rumors that it's happening. So the people live are living in
Okay, thank you very much. Chokosu Fami, and you want to say something? If you want to say, just press on your hand. Chokosu.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
My hand is up, sir.
So, sir, one of the reasons for preventing disaster is the use of technology. Is the use of technology.
Okay.
To prevent or avert disaster. So some of the disasters you can avert the damage that it can cause. For instance, in advanced countries where they have instruments for measuring the movement of the earth. So where there's going to be likely movement, people are moved before it occurs. So technology is one of the key ways of preventing disaster. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Hello, sir. It's Yokura, sir.
Yokura, please go
Sir,
ahead.
your emphasis, I think, I think, were on.
Chairman.
Hello. Sir, I think your emphasis were on how to prevent a road accident.
Exactly, exactly.
So I would say one of the ways to prevent a road accident is by carefully planning, just like you made mention in the class, expansion of these roads, neutralize them so that accidents will be minimized. And then speed limitations and all of that. It's just a few of these.
Also using roadworthy vehicles.
Can I add?
Yeah, road signs and all of that.
Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I want to mention this. I want to mention this road signs too. And again, I think we need to embark on serious attitudinal change on ourselves.
Okay.
If you look at the disasters that we're talking about, there are that do with the responsibility of informing on the repercussion of whatever you have done. Today, take for example, you talk about flooding area, and then somebody is saying that, okay, informing the people to move.
Okay, thank you for your various contributions. Who else wants to say? Pina, you want to say something?
Yes, I just want to say something concerning what Love have just said concerning load disaster. Concerning load disaster.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. One person at a time.
Hello?
The rest of your hand doesn't. Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, let's Ocheme finish before we come back to you.
Okay.
Ocheme is making contributions. Yeah, back to you, Pina. Pina, you were saying something? I think you have completed.
Sir. I just want to add something concerning what Love have just said concerning load disaster or accident. That there's a need to create more awareness, to give these drivers, not just the drivers, but individuals that drive day in, day out, and how they will check their vehicles.
Who should carry out the awareness?
Hello?
Who should carry out the awareness? We want to be practical, more as practical, so that everybody will understand. That is why I have to slow down. Who should carry out the awareness?
The government and the private sectors can do that, sir. And also, even with the individuals.
Like National Union of Road Transport Workers.
Exactly. To be conscious of how we drive, how we monitor the driving limit. Sometimes the temperature of the vehicle will be very high, but just because the driver is not aware, he will continue speeding, overtaking where he did not supposed to overtake. And many of our vehicles nowadays, drivers are driving without fire extinguisher in their vehicle, and when a disaster occurs, like fire, there's nothing to prevent or no precaution to take at the immediate spot of what happened. So if this awareness is created, majority of the drivers, hello?
Oh my God. Yeah, we are together. We're hearing you very well.
Yes, majority of this disaster will be minimized in our society.
Okay. I go back to HM.
Hello, sir.
Okay, hello, sir. Hello, sir. Please, let me call your attention to something, sir.
Okay.
Okay, so it's past 12 now, sir. So we may need to agree as a class whether to go for a break or continue until 1, then end the class, sir. Hello, sir. Hello.
Network is very
bad.
Let's
hear you. Hello.
Okay, sir. So, sir, yes, sir. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yeah, Fabian, what were you saying?
Okay, I'm saying it's time for break. But then, however, we need to agree as a class whether we should continue till 1 o'clock and then end the class entirely, or we should go for a break and come back by 1, sir.
May I vote break time?
Let's continue.
Yeah, Fabian, you were saying.
Let's go for break. It's break time.
Safaya was saying, according to the timetable, lecture starts by 10 and go on break 12.
Hello, Fabian.
Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Just Anderson.
Hello, sir. Okay, so I'm saying it's our break time now. So we need to decide if we should continue or we should go for break and return by 1, sir.
Okay. We are supposed to go for break now and return by 1.
Yes, sir. But then if we continue till 1, then there'll be no need for the 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock lecture.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's return back by 1.
Okay. So
let's continue till 1.
We will go on break since you raised that issue. I will still be in the class waiting for you. We will return by 1 so that you will refresh yourself, so that emergency will not happen to your tummy. Or
exactly.
There will be no disaster or any disaster to any of us.
Exactly.
Don't want any emergency or disaster to anybody, including Waka Gemga and Dashanese. I can see that Joshua. So I'll be waiting for you in the class.
Happen to our devices too.
Yes. we continue by 1. I'll be waiting for you.
All right, sir.
All right. So, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. See you by 1.
Okay, Medjugorje Salas, thank you. See you by 1. I'll be waiting for you.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please, can the admin end the class so that we can have our break? Thank you. Admin, please end the class now. Please.
My network was bad since. Are we on break or it's just a network problem for everybody? Felix, are we on break or is network problem for everybody? If you can hear me, someone should answer me, please.
And Doc, even Doc is not online again. And see, it should be break time. It should be break time by now. The time is 12:15.
That's what I'm asking. I have been on for about 5 minutes now. Network logged me out. So I don't know what is happening right now. That's what I'm asking, please. If there is any formal announcement concerning that.
Formal
okay. Okay.